Hey guys, and welcome back to this tutorial. We're going to be making this dress. Pattern drafting can be intimidating, but I'm here to help you go through it just so you understand the basics and create unlimited designs, just as you would want it. And let's head straight into the tutorial. So for the sake of this tutorial, you'll be needing your basic bodice from your shoulder to your hip line where you want your peplum to stop. I'll advise 8 inches after your waistline. And I'm going to have to trace that out onto a full paper. For the sake of this tutorial, I'll be working with it in full. And I'm labeling bust points, waistline, and hip line. I'm also going to have to impute my dots where necessary. So having done that now, we'll go ahead to draw that exact design of this pattern of the exaggerated peplum. We'll go ahead to draw that very design of the exaggerated peplum. And having done that, we want to add an additional paper to this very particular side because the exaggerated peplum tilted outwards towards that side. So we need to add an additional paper to it just so we get the exact design for the sake of that part that is tilted. So I'll be removing the hip part where my hip peplum is, where I'll rather be drafting my hip peplum just so we see clearly, and then work on this very front one, upper bodies. So I'm going ahead now to draw that design. I'm not really good with drawing, but I'm going to try to make this to look as nice as possible. And I'll be using a marker to make it visible, so do not worry. If you don't understand what I'm doing, I'm going to use a marker to make it visible. But of course, you should understand what I'm doing if you watch closely. So I'm going to have to draw that, and I'm trying to make sure that it's nice, it's going to come out well, because what you draw is what you're going to have. If you didn't draw the style nice, then the exaggerated peplum isn't going to come out nice. So whatever you draw is what you're going to have. So you want to be careful and make sure you give a nice drawing, like a nice design in your drawing. Yeah. I'm also going ahead to draw in my number 3 or 2, whatever, but you're going to see what I'm doing. You understand what I'm doing, or I hope you understand what I'm doing. Like I said, I'll be using a marker to make this more visible. So I'll be going in with my marker, and I've gone in with my marker to draw it out. So I'm going to be tracing number 1 onto a fresh pattern paper, like so. And I'm tracing the whole of number 1 onto a fresh pattern paper. The whole of this is number 1, and I'm tracing it out onto a fresh pattern paper. I've traced it and I'm gonna head to label 1. So I'll be doing same to 2, 3, and 4. And here they are. I've traced all this out, including the dots. You don't want to leave the dots out. I've traced them all out, including the dots, okay? Because we're going to be manipulating the dots to give it a better look. So there's a connecting line between 1 and 2. And also there's a connecting line between 2 and 3. There's also a connecting line between 3 and 4, which you understand better as we go on in this tutorial. I'm going ahead now to manipulate the dots to add fullness to the upper part of the peplum, like so. The reason why I left the first line I drew is because I feel it's going to be affecting the other side of the peplum. You can decide anywhere you want to add your fullness, anywhere you want to open up your dots, okay? Anywhere, there's no rule for that. The reason why I didn't use that first line is because I feel it's going to affect the other side. Like I don't want it to intersect the other or the other peplum, the other dots that I'm going to be manipulating at the other side, as you can see. So that was why I had to open it up at this other end. You just watch closely and you understand everything that I'm doing. I'm closing up the dots and opening it at the line that I drew at the upper part of this peplum. So we have to fill up the spaces now. So I'm going ahead now to fill up the spaces just so it's more irregular, just so it doesn't have an irregular shape at the top. So I'm going to fill up the spaces and make it more regular, okay? I just feel like I should add more paper to the top because the very paper that I added is not going to make it look nice, to give it more defined shape. So I added more papers, a larger paper to the top, and I'm going to be drawing a better curved line at the top. So I'll be cutting that very design out like so. And for the sides, they are irregular. We're also going to make them straight. The sides are irregular, so we're going to be adding fresh pattern papers to the sides to make them regular, okay? So from the very top, I'm rolling it down like so. Also to this other side, I'm going to be making the side regular also. So I'm gonna have to do same thing to the second, the third, and the fourth peplum. Okay, I'm gonna have to manipulate all the dots, and this is what they all look like. So I haven't done that now. I'll go ahead to detach that additional paper because we wouldn't be needing it anymore. And we are working on the skirt, on the hip part of the peplum. Yeah, hip part of the peplum, if there's anything like that. On the lower body's peplum, So I'm going back to temporarily attach these together like so. Temporarily because I'm going to be removing it. And I'll tell you why. The reason I'm attaching this to the upper bodies is because from this design, that very pointed part of the lower body speculum looks like it's on a slanting line from the upper bodies down. They are on same line. So I want to also make sure that mine is on same line. And you'll see what I'm talking about as we go on in this tutorial. So I'm going to have to add an additional paper for that extension, that pointed part extension. And from the number one peplum on the upper bodies, I want to draw a line extending it downwards to the hip peplum and to that extension peplum. Yeah, like so. And from my hip line, I went down by 3 inches. That is where I want the extension to end, 3 inches. I think that's okay. You don't want it to be, if it's too long, it's not going to look nice. If it's too long, it is not going to look nice. So, like so. So this very part is tilted outwards. And we're going to be adding an additional paper to this very place just so we create that design. Okay? And I'll go ahead to tape this down now. And also, from the very hip line, I'll be measuring 2.5 inches outwards. And I'll be connecting this. Okay, I want to make sure it's on line with the hip line. They're on same line. And I'll be connecting this from my waistline. From that waistline all the way down to meet the 2.5 inch mark, like so. And I'll be connecting that very line to the pointed edge of that peplum. You'll see it clearly as we go on in this video. You'll see it clearly. Don't worry, you'll see it clearly as we go on. So that is number 2. And I'll go ahead to work on number 1. Same thing we did for this side. We're also going to be adding an additional paper to this side. And I will do same thing to that other side also. So I went ahead to mark 1.5 inch where the number 1 peplum is going to be overlapping the number 2 peplum. Because that's the way this design is. Number 1 is actually overlapping number 2. And then I want to also create the full design of number 1 from where it overlaps. Like so, from the 1.5 inch line, I'm going to be extending it to the edge of the peplum like so. And there it is, we're going to be detaching the upper bodies. So I'll be going in with my marker to make number 1 and 2 visible. So I had to tape it down just so it's laid down flat. Not move around. So I'm gonna have to trace it out. I'm gonna have to trace 1 and 2. So we're going to be working on the dots. We're going to be manipulating the dots. Now, when you manipulate the dots, you're going to be you will get a basic. You'll be having a basic peplum. But if you want a more flare peplum, then you have to slash and spread to add more fullness. But when you work on just the dots, you're going to be having a basic peplum. So it's optional. You can do whatever you want here. You can decide to slash and spread after doing the basic, which is what I'm about to do now. So you can also decide to slash and spread for more flare look. Also, we're going to be covering up those spaces like so. And this is what it looks like. So now moving over to this upper body peplum, we're going to be joining them together. Remember, there's a connecting line between number 1 peplum and number 2 peplum. So you want to join those connecting lines together and create a single peplum, which we're going to be doing right away. So 1 and 2, like so, and you sew it down or you tape it down. And you have something that looks like this. Moving over to the connecting line between 2 and 3, you'll be holding it down like so. If you're using your fabric, remember that you're using the same fabric to turn this. You're using the fabric to turn this. That's you're using your fabric as a lining. So do not be scared. Or what if my lining turns to the back? You're using your fabric to turn over as your lining, okay? And number 3, like so. Number 2 and 1. Last but not the least, number 4 to number 3. And we're also going to be taping this down. This has formed a hole, like it's no longer in piece, it's now a hole. For those who understand clearly, if you're good at this, if you've practiced enough, then you can decide to cut this as a whole. But I will advise for a beginner, cut it in parts and join like we did in this tutorial. Also, if you want to get more understanding, I have a skirt tutorial, which is like a basic. I have a skirt tutorial on my channel, and I'm going to be dropping the link to that skirt tutorial in the in the comment section. So you can go watch it out because I did something like this in that skirt tutorial. It will help your understanding of this very particular design better. Okay, so I haven't done that. We're going to be closing up our darts on our bodies. If you love this video, then give it a thumbs up, like this video, share, comment in the comment section. Leave your comments in the comment section. Questions, whatever it is, just drop it in the comment section. Be sure you subscribe to this channel for more pattern drafting tutorials. So I've gone ahead to close it up, and I'll be attaching the peplum to it like so. Go ahead to tape this down now. I also go ahead to tape down the hip peplum part of it. And I'll be flipping it over just so I get a good grasp on it and tape it down. And lastly, I'll be taping this other part down, just so we unveil this and see what it looks like. Yeah. So this is what we are having now. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next video. Do have a lovely day. Bye.